talk about a debacle. I mean, talk about a straight up embarrassment and a debacle. I mean, this is embarrassing. What the Indiana Fever are doing with Caitlin Clark. We got Stephanie White at the podium, Kelsey Mitchell at the podium. They're pretty much throwing Caitlin Clark under the bus, especially Stephanie White. I mean, they basically feel like they don't need her. They don't need her. At this point, they just need to move on and break this relationship up. Send Caitlin Clark off so you guys can do your thing in Indiana. And that's just that, man. But it's disgusting. The plan whatever plan was put in place for Caitlin.
Asterisk what happens when a professional sports franchise completely refuses to embrace the greatest financial and cultural gift they have ever been handed? We are currently witnessing an absolute, unmitigated disaster unfolding in Indiana, and the sheer, unadulterated disrespect being directed at Caitlin Clark has officially reached a boiling point. The Indiana Fever just suffered an absolutely humiliating blowout loss against the heavily depleted Los Angeles Sparks. But the final score isn't what has the basketball world completely enraged. It is the bizarre, highly suspicious, and borderline insulting way head coach Stephanie White and the Fever front office are actively managing, or rather sabotaging, their generational superstar. The post-game press conferences were an absolute masterclass in deflection, subtly throwing Clark completely under the bus while desperately trying to justify an offensive system that is actively tearing this roster apart. You are locked into WNBA Watch, the absolute, undisputed authority on the raw, unvarnished truth behind the biggest cover-ups and controversies in professional basketball. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and let's dive directly into the absolute circus currently ripping the Indiana Fever's credibility to shreds. To truly comprehend the sheer, mind-numbing magnitude of this coaching malpractice, you have to look directly at the catastrophic rotational management executed during the matchup against Los Angeles. Caitlin Clark was supposedly cleared to play, but instead of allowing her to establish a rhythm and dictate the pace of the game, the coaching staff placed her on a bizarre, hyper-restrictive minutes mandate. But it wasn't just a total minutes cap. It was how those minutes were violently distributed. Clark was routinely thrown onto the hardwood for agonizingly short, 90-second to 3-minute bursts, only to be immediately yanked back to the sideline and forced.
I think defensively, you got to kind of be yourself. You got to kind of want to pour in and be what you're supposed to be, and letting the offense kind of take it from there. But I think defensively, it kind of was just ugly.
Cool. Yeah, Lexi, you mentioned the 106 points on defense. Just what was breaking down there defensively, especially in the front court with them scoring 60 in the paint?
Yeah, I mean, not having AB tonight definitely hurts us, I think. She's a presence on the defensive side for sure. But like Kelsey talked about,
to ride a stationary bike. No elite, visionary point guard on the planet can establish offensive cohesion or properly dissect a defense when they are being aggressively micromanaged like a rotational bench warmer. If a player is genuinely too physically compromised to play consecutive, meaningful minutes, you sit them completely. By throwing her out there in microscopic, disjointed increments, the coaching staff actively set her up to fail, completely destroying any momentum the offense desperately needed. But the absolute, undeniable proof of a massive internal disconnect arrived the second Stephanie White stepped up to the post-game podium. When pressed by reporters about Clark's incredibly limited 4-for-16 shooting performance, White immediately launched into a highly defensive, incredibly revealing monologue. She complained about the extreme difficulty of reintegrating Clark back into the lineup, claiming it takes significant time to get acclimated and build endurance after missing a few weeks. But here is the massive, glowing red flag that completely exposes the coaching staff's hidden agenda. Why is it so incredibly difficult to reintegrate the player that your entire franchise is supposedly built around? If an offensive system is truly tailored to maximize a generational, hyperfast playmaker, her return to the floor should instantly elevate the surrounding roster. The reality is that it is only difficult to integrate Caitlin Clark because Stephanie White has spent the entire season actively building a completely different, isolation-heavy system that...
How bad our defense was. I think
we couldn't find a flow offensively, and you talked of, like, you got to piece this thing together. You heard Stephanie White talk about how it's difficult to reintegrate Caitlin Clark offensively and this and that. Now you seeing Kelsey Mitchell talk about, yeah, they don't have no flow offensively and yada, yada. I mean, Just say y'all don't want Caitlyn no more. Just say you and Stephanie White want to do y'all own thing. Just say that and let's move on. I'm tired of this.
That we had some good moments. I think that we had some moments that made it seem
Entirely bypasses Clark's elite court vision. The underlying tension regarding this systemic failure completely bled over into the veteran post-game comments, specifically from Kelsey Mitchell. When discussing the catastrophic lack of offensive flow during the blowout loss, Mitchell delivered a highly intense, seemingly pointed monologue about accountability. She explicitly stated, "I don't think there's an excuse that you can give to do this job. If I can lace them up and I could do what I need to do, then I'm going to do it." While on the surface this sounds like standard, gritty veteran leadership in the highly toxic context of the current locker room, fans immediately interpreted this as a subtle, indirect shot at Clark's restricted availability and the massive disruption it caused the offense. Mitchell further emphasized that the team was completely disjointed and disoriented, echoing Stephanie White's exact complaints about the struggles of reintegration. It is becoming painfully, undeniably clear that the veteran establishment actively prefers the offensive freedom they experience when Clark is completely removed from the equation. This deeply ingrained, highly toxic coaching bias becomes even more blindingly obvious when you contrast the reaction to Clark's struggles with the reaction to Aaliyah Boston's absence. Boston was sidelined for the matchup against the Sparks, and Stephanie White immediately treated it like an absolute, catastrophic organizational tragedy.
Our rotations having each other's back. It wasn't there consistently.
Trash as a coach. Now let's get into Kelsey Mitchell acting like she don't even care. Like she don't need Caitlyn. Like it's crazy, man.
It's about showing up. It's my job. I'm gonna do my job every day. I think that this game can't be taken for granted. You gotta respect it. You gotta pour in whatever you got into it, and give that every time. I don't think there's an excuse that you can give to do this job, and I think that I do my damn.
White openly lamented the loss, explicitly calling Boston their defensive anchor, their primary communicator, and their elite rim protector, using her absence as the primary excuse for allowing the heavily depleted Sparks to drop an astonishing 60 points in the paint. Yet, when discussing Caitlin Clark, the tone completely shifts. Clark isn't treated like a foundational, irreplaceable anchor. She is treated like a logistical headache, a disruption that the coaching staff has to desperately try and work back in to their master plan. The double standard is absolutely staggering. The coaching staff is openly validating the veteran core while actively treating the face of the league like an incredibly frustrating, rotational burden. We are currently watching an entire sporting institution actively, stubbornly wage a silent, administrative war against its own financial and cultural savior. The establishment media can desperately try to spin the narratives, and the head coach can continue to hide behind vague medical restrictions and reintegration excuses, but absolutely nothing changes the undeniable reality unfolding on the hardwood. The Indiana Fever front office and coaching staff have mentally completely moved on from the Caitlin Clark era. They have intentionally constructed a roster and a system designed to operate entirely without her, and they are actively using her limited minutes to prove their point. If Stephanie White and general manager Amber Cox truly believe they possess a championship-caliber blueprint that does not require the greatest playmaker in the history of the sport, then it is officially time to end this highly toxic, deeply dysfunctional experiment. The front office needs to execute a massive trade, send Caitlin Clark to a franchise that actually values and maximizes her historic impact, and allow the Indiana Fever to fade back into complete, silent irrelevance. I want to hear your absolute raw, unfiltered thoughts down in the comments below. Do you believe the bizarre minutes restriction was a calculated move to sabotage Clark's rhythm? And are the post-game comments proof that the veteran establishment wants her gone? Drop your absolute best takes. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay permanently locked into the absolute truth, and I will see you all in the very next deep dive.